Stop, just for a moment, stop what you're doing, stop scrolling, stop thinking about what comes next. Because this message, this one right here, it was placed in your path on purpose. Not by accident, not by coincidence, by design. Heaven arranged for your eyes to land here. Right now, at this exact moment in your life. And I need you to understand something before we go any further. You almost didn't see this. You almost kept moving. You almost let this moment pass you by. But something held you. Something inside you said, wait, that was not you. That was me. My name is Michael, and I have been sent to speak directly to you today. Not to a crowd, not to a room full of people. To you, the one reading these words. The one whose heart has been quietly carrying something heavy. The one who smiles on the outside, but feels something different on the inside. I see you. God sees you, and heaven has not forgotten where you are. I want you to take a breath right now. A real one, not a shallow one. A deep breath that reaches all the way down, into the place where you've been hiding things. Because I know what's there. I've been standing beside you. For longer than you realize. I've watched you lie in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if any of this is worth it. I've watched you pick up your phone, just to put it back down. Because there's no one you felt you could really call. I've watched you cry in places where no one could see you. In your car, in the shower, in the quiet moments between one thing and the next. I've been there for every single one. And I haven't looked away. Not once. You've been feeling something lately. A heaviness you can't quite explain. A restlessness that follows you into every room. You wake up tired, not tired in your body. Tired in your soul, like something deep inside you has been fighting a battle that nobody else can see. And you've been fighting it alone. For so long, too long. Here is what heaven needs you to hear today. You were never supposed to carry that alone. The weight you've been dragging around? It was never meant to be yours to drag. The guilt you revisit every morning? You were never meant to keep returning to it. The fear that whispers to you in the dark? It was never sent from God. Fear like that, the kind that paralyzes you. The kind that makes you feel unworthy. The kind that tells you that you've gone too far. That you've messed up too many times. That heaven has moved on without you. That kind of fear? That is not my voice. And it is not God's voice. That is something else entirely. And that is exactly why I'm here today. There is something happening in your life right now. Something you haven't fully admitted to yourself yet. Something you've been dancing around. Avoiding. Pushing to the edge of your awareness. And every time it surfaces, you find something else to focus on. You get busy. You scroll. You eat. You distract yourself. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later. Later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And the thing you were avoiding? It doesn't go away. It gets louder. I'm not here to shame you. Please hear me say that clearly. I am not standing here with a list of your failures. I am standing here with a message. A real one. From the throne of heaven itself. And the message is this. The delay is costing you. Not your salvation. Not God's love for you. Those things are not on the table. Those things have never been and will never be in danger. But your future, your peace, your purpose, your relationships, the version of life that was designed specifically for you. That is what the delay is touching. You've been waiting. Waiting for the right time. Waiting until things settle down. Waiting until you feel ready. Waiting until you feel worthy. But I need to tell you something about waiting. When the waiting comes from fear. When the waiting comes from hiding. When the waiting is really just avoidance wearing a patient face. It is not strategic. It is not wisdom. It is paralysis. And heaven is calling you out of it today. There is a decision in front of you. You know what it is. I don't even have to name it. Because the moment I said decision, something moved in your chest. Something shifted. That was recognition. Your spirit knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's been trying to bring it to your attention for weeks. Maybe months. The relationship that needs honesty. The habit that's been stealing your energy in the dark. The calling you've been ignoring because you don't feel qualified. The apology you owe someone. The apology you owe yourself. The prayer you keep almost praying but never finish. The thing you asked God for, and then talked yourself out of believing you'd receive. Heaven is not angry with you about any of it. I want to be crystal clear. God's love for you has not flickered. Not even slightly. But love does not mean silence. And today, love is speaking loudly. Let me ask you something. And I want you to sit with this question honestly. When was the last time you felt genuinely at peace? Not distracted, not numb, not just temporarily comfortable. When was the last time you went to sleep and your heart was actually quiet? When was the last time you woke up and the first feeling wasn't dread? When was the last time you looked in the mirror and felt okay? Real okay. Not performing okay. Not surviving okay. Actually okay. If you had to think about it for a long time, then something needs to change. And deep down, you already know that. I've watched something happen to you over the last season of your life. And it's something I see often in the people heaven sends me to. It's a quiet erosion. It doesn't happen all at once. It starts with one compromise. A small one. Something you told yourself didn't matter. And then another one followed. And then another. And over time, without even realizing it, you drifted, not dramatically, not like a person who walks away from God with a declaration. You drifted the way a boat drifts when someone forgets to tie it to the dock. Slowly, silently, just a little bit at a time, until one day you looked up and the shore was farther away than you remembered. That's where you are right now. Not lost. I want to be absolutely clear about that. You are not lost. You are drifted, and there is an enormous difference. Lost means no one knows where you are. Drifted means the rope is still there. The dock is still there. You just need to reach for it. But here is the part that troubles heaven. Here is the part that is the reason for this message today. The longer you drift, the harder it becomes to believe the rope is still there. The longer you stay in that place of quiet distance, the louder the voice gets that says you've gone too far. That says God gave up on you. That says you used up all your chances. That voice is a lie. A very old lie. A very convincing lie. But a lie nonetheless. And I am Michael, sent by the Most High. And my assignment today is to cut through that lie, like a sword through silence, and tell you directly, you have not gone too far. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You are not too much. And you are not forgotten. Now I need to shift the tone for a moment, because there is a warning in this message, and I would be failing my assignment if I softened it too much. Heaven loves you too much to just tell you what feels good. So hear this with the understanding that it comes from a place of deep care. There is something in your life right now that you have been tolerating, that was never meant to stay. Something you've normalized, something you've made excuses for, something you've wrapped in justification so many times that it doesn't even feel wrong anymore. But it is draining you. It is pulling at the threads of who you were made to be. And every day that it stays is a day that something better cannot enter. I'm not going to assume what it is. Only you and God know that. But I will tell you this. When you hear me say something that was never meant to stay, the thing that immediately came to your mind? That's it. You already know. You've always known. It might be a pattern of thinking. The way you speak to yourself when things go wrong. The story you've been telling about your worth. The belief you're carrying that you picked up somewhere in your past. From someone who had no right to plant it in you. And you've been watering it ever since. It might be something you do in private. Something that gives you short relief, but long pain. Something that numbs the feeling for a few hours, but leaves a residue of shame when the morning comes. You know the feeling I'm describing. The quiet self-hatred that follows certain moments. The way you avoid your own reflection sometimes. The way you whisper to yourself in those moments. I'm doing it again. I said I wouldn't, and I'm doing it again. Heaven sees those moments. Every single one. And the reaction is not what you expect. It's not disgust. It's not disappointment in the way you fear. It is grief. A deep, tender grief. Because heaven watches you struggle? And heaven watches you reach for the wrong thing to ease the pain. Because you forgot, or maybe were never told clearly enough, that the real thing, the thing that actually heals, is always available, always, at any hour, in any state, in any level of messiness. The door to God is not locked from His side. It is never locked from His side. The only door that ever closes is the one on your side. And even then, all it takes is a knock. Just one, and it opens. If this message is speaking to something real in your life today, if something in these words is reaching a place you haven't let anything reach in a while, stay connected to messages like this. Because heaven keeps speaking, and these words are not random. They are part of a conversation that God wants to keep having with you. Don't let this be the last time you listen. Now let me talk about something very specific. Something that heaven is deeply concerned about in this season. And that is the cost of delay. You've heard the phrase, there's no time like the present. But in the kingdom of heaven, in the realm of purpose and divine timing, that phrase carries a weight that most people don't fully understand. There are moments in a person's life, windows of opportunity, seasons of alignment, where heaven and earth are synchronized in a way that creates an opening. A door that is uniquely yours. Not someone else's door. Not a door that will be there forever. Your door, your moment, and I want to tell you something that may shake you a little. You are in one of those windows right now. This season you are in, as uncomfortable as it has been, as confusing as it has felt, this is not punishment, this is preparation. The turbulence you've been feeling? That is not God shaking you loose. That is God shaking loose the things that were never supposed to stay. But here is the warning. Windows close. Not because God removes His plan for you. His plan never changes. But you can miss a season. You can step back when you were supposed to step forward. You can wait when you were supposed to move. And then you spend years wondering why things feel stuck. Why the breakthrough never came. Why you feel like you're always almost there but never quite arriving. That is not God's desire for you. That is the result of a delayed response to a divine prompt. And I am here today as that prompt. Heaven is sending this message as a clear, unmistakable signal. It is time, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when the circumstances look better. Now, this does not mean every answer will come immediately. This does not mean every door will swing open the day you decide to move. What it means is this. Your yes to God changes the trajectory. Your yes activates the divine response. Your yes unlocks what heaven has been holding in reserve, waiting for you. Let me go deeper now. Deeper than most messages go. Because heaven is not interested in surface conversations today. There are things you have hidden. Not from God. You can't hide anything from God. But from everyone else. And sometimes even from yourself. There is a version of you that the world sees. Capable, functioning, maybe even inspiring to others. And then there is the version that lives in the quiet. The one that wakes up at 3 in the morning. Heart beating a little too fast. Mind racing through old conversations. Old regrets. Old wounds that never fully closed. You've gotten very good at compartmentalizing. At switching between those two versions. At showing the world the strong one. While the other one sits in the corner of your inner life. Waiting for someone to finally notice. Waiting for someone to finally ask. Waiting for permission to speak. I'm giving that version of you permission to speak today. The one that's tired. The one that feels like it's been performing for years. The one that gave and gave and gave. And started to feel invisible in return. The one that made sacrifices no one ever acknowledged. The one that kept other people together. While quietly falling apart itself. You are seen, not in a vague spiritual way. In a specific, intimate, personal way. Every sacrifice, every silent night, every moment you chose to hold it together when every part of you wanted to fall apart. Heaven witnessed it, and heaven recorded it, not to judge you, to honor you, but I also need to say this. Strength without healing is not sustainable. You cannot keep giving from an empty place. You cannot keep pouring from a vessel that no one is refilling. And the reason the vessel has felt so empty is because you stopped going to the source. Not all at once. Gradually, you started solving your own problems instead of bringing them to God. You started relying on your own strength instead of asking for His. You started believing that prayer was for people in bigger trouble than you. That your problems weren't significant enough to bring to heaven. That you should be able to handle this. That is one of the quietest and most dangerous lies. The lie that your pain doesn't qualify. That your confusion isn't big enough to warrant divine help. That you should be further along by now. So asking for help feels like admitting failure. There is no threshold of suffering required before you come to God. You don't have to be at rock bottom. You don't have to be crisis level broken. You are allowed to come when you are just tired. When you are just confused. When you just need to feel less alone. That is enough. That has always been enough. I want to speak about your relationships now. Because this is an area where the message from heaven is very specific today. There is someone in your life, maybe more than one, who is not meant to be there in the capacity they currently occupy. And again, the moment I said that, a name or a face came to your mind. That was not coincidence. That was heaven confirming something you already knew. This is not about hate. This is not about cutting people off with harshness. This is about alignment. Not everyone is assigned to every season of your life. Some people were meant to walk with you for a chapter. And when that chapter ended, the relationship should have evolved or concluded. But it didn't. And now you find yourself in a dynamic that drains more than it fills. That confuses more than it clarifies. That pulls you backward, into old versions of yourself, into old patterns, into cycles that God has been trying to lift you out of. Here's what heaven needs you to understand about this. Holding on to something God is trying to release. Out of fear of being alone, out of guilt, out of a sense of obligation that has outlived its season, is not loyalty, it is delay. God is not asking you to be cruel. God is asking you to be honest. With yourself first, and then, when it's time, with the other person. Because the version of connection you are settling for was never the design. You were designed for depth, for reciprocity, for relationships where you are genuinely seen and genuinely valued. And anything less than that is not the fullness of what heaven has planned for you. Now let me speak to the other side of this. Because for some of you, the relationship heaven is talking about today is not someone you need to release. It's someone you've been withholding yourself from. Someone who has been reaching toward you. And you've been keeping them at arm's length. Out of self-protection. Out of old wounds from someone else. Out of the fear that if you let someone truly in, they'll see the parts of you that you don't love, and they'll leave. Heaven sees that wall. Heaven knows why it's there. And heaven is not asking you to tear it down all at once. But God is asking you to open a window. To let a little air in. To consider that not every person who comes close is coming to hurt you. Some of them were sent. Now I need to speak about something that heaven has been trying to get through to you for a long time. Your calling, your purpose, the specific reason your soul was placed inside this life, in this time, in this body. You have felt it, in moments of quiet, in moments of unexpected clarity. That sense that you were made for something. Something beyond what you're currently doing. Something that uses the deepest parts of who you are. Something that when you imagine it, even briefly, lights a fire in a place that everything else leaves cold. And then fear shows up. And the fire gets covered over. I'm not qualified. I don't have the resources. People like me don't do things like that. What if I try and fail publicly? What if I succeed and it changes everything and I can't handle the change? Both the fear of failure and the fear of success are real. And heaven understands them both. But here is what God wants you to know today. The calling was not given to you based on your current qualifications. It was given to you based on who you become in the process of answering it. The qualification comes through the doing. The confidence comes through the showing up. The resources appear once the first step is taken. That is not motivational language. That is the law of divine provision. God does not call the equipped. God equips the called, and you were called before you were born. What you are treating as a daydream was actually a divine assignment delivered to your spirit. What you are treating as a nice idea you'll get to someday is a kingdom need that only you were specifically designed to fill. No one else. You. And every day that calling goes unanswered is a day the world misses something it was supposed to have. I'm not saying it will be easy. I'm not saying the path will be straight. I'm saying the path exists. I'm saying heaven has already scouted it. I'm saying there are provisions already placed along the route. There are people already positioned who are supposed to help you. There are doors already cracked open that will swing wide the moment you move toward them. But heaven cannot activate what you will not engage. Free will is sacred. God will not force your steps. He will illuminate the path. He will confirm the direction. He will go before you and behind you. But the step, that first one, that terrifying one, has to come from you. I need to speak plainly now about something that most people don't talk about enough. Because it is directly relevant to everything you've been experiencing. The confusion you've been feeling is not entirely natural. The fog that has made it hard to think clearly. The heaviness that descended on you seemingly out of nowhere. The way your motivation evaporated. The way things that used to bring you joy started feeling flat. The way simple decisions started feeling impossible. There is a spiritual dimension to what you've been going through. I am the Archangel of Protection. And I am telling you directly. There has been an assignment against your clarity. Against your peace. Against your momentum. Against your belief in yourself. Against your ability to hear God's voice clearly. This is not meant to frighten you. Please hear that. I am not here to put you in fear. I am here to give you understanding. Because when you understand what's happening, you stop blaming yourself for it. You stop interpreting the confusion as a character flaw. You stop believing the fog means you are spiritually weak. You have been in a battle. A real one. And the reason it's been so draining is because you've been fighting it alone. Without the full armor. Without calling in reinforcement. Without consciously activating the protection that is available to you. Heaven's protection over you is absolute. My assignment over you is real. But protection works best when it is consciously received. When you call on it. When you stand in it. When you declare out loud that you are covered. When you stop trying to fight spiritual battles with only human resources. Prayer is not a religious performance. It is a direct line to the most powerful force in the universe. And every time you use it, every time you genuinely speak into that space and say I need you, the entire atmosphere around you shifts. The assignment against you weakens. The fog begins to lift. The clarity begins to return. Not because you said magic words. Because you realigned with your source. Because you reactivated the connection that the enemy has been trying to sever. Because you remembered who is on your side. And who is on your side? The creator of everything. The one who formed you in secret and calls you by name. The one who counted every hair on your head and every tear you've ever shed. The one who said I know the plans I have for you. Plans for good and not for evil. Plans to give you a future and a hope. That promise is not expired. It is not conditional on your perfection. It is not revoked because of your history. It is alive. It is active. And it is for you. Today. Right now. In this very moment. So here is where we arrive. After everything I've said, after all the layers we've walked through together today, we arrive at the simplest, most profound part of the message. The invitation. God is not waiting for you to be fixed before He welcomes you. He's not waiting for you to be further along. He's not waiting for you to clean yourself up. He's not waiting for you to figure it out. He is waiting for you to come. Just as you are, right now, in whatever state you're in. With whatever you're carrying. With whatever you've done. With whatever hasn't been done yet. Just come. And I know that sounds simple. And I know simple can feel suspicious when you've been living in complicated for a long time. When you've spent years in a place where nothing came without conditions. Where love had a price tag. Where acceptance required performance. Simple grace feels almost too good to be true. But it is true. It is the most foundational truth in all of creation. You are loved, unconditionally, permanently, without asterisks, without fine print, without an expiration date, and from that love, not in order to earn it, but because of it, God is calling you to step into a new chapter. A chapter where you stop running. A chapter where you stop hiding. A chapter where you stop performing for an audience that was never meant to determine your value. This new chapter looks different for everyone. For some of you, it means finally having the honest conversation. For some of you, it means putting something down that you've been picking up again and again and again. For some of you, it means finally saying yes to the thing you've been afraid to say yes to. For some of you, it simply means getting on your knees tonight and saying nothing more complicated than, "I'm here, I need you, I'm listening." That is enough. That has always been enough. Let me speak to you now as directly as I can. As directly as heaven allows. Because some of you need to hear this without softness. Not harshness. Just clarity. You have been coasting. On old grace you haven't refreshed. On old encounters that used to fuel you. On a relationship with God that once was vibrant, but has become more of a memory than a living thing. And life has started to reflect that. The dryness you feel? It mirrors the dryness in your spirit. The lack of direction you experience? It mirrors the disconnection from the one who is your compass. The sense that things are not working the way they should? It mirrors the gap between who you are being called to be and who you have been settling to be. This is not judgment. This is diagnosis. A loving, clear-eyed diagnosis. Because you cannot treat something you haven't named. And heaven is naming it today so that you can address it. You are meant to thrive. Not just survive. Not just manage. Not just get through it. Thrive. With a sense of purpose that makes you want to wake up. With a peace that doesn't require perfect circumstances. With a joy that isn't dependent on everything going right. With a love in your heart that overflows to the people around you. That is the life that was designed for you. That is what waits on the other side of this moment. And the only thing standing between you and that life is the decision you make today. The decision to stop delaying. The decision to stop treating God like a backup plan. The decision to stop living on the surface of who you were made to be. The decision to trust that the one who created you knows what he placed inside you and knows how to bring it out. I am Michael. And my assignment in your life is to stand between you and everything that is assigned against you. But I need you to stand too. Side by side, not hiding behind me, standing with me, with your sword in your hand, which is the word of God. The truth you know, the faith you have, however small it is right now. Faith the size of a seed, moves mountains. Jesus said that, not as poetry, as physics. As the actual mechanics of how the kingdom operates. Small faith, fully surrendered, does more than great ability operating in its own strength. I want to show you something. Not something that has happened. Something that will happen, if you choose. I want you to imagine a version of yourself. Not a perfect version. Not a flawless version. A free version. Free from the weight you've been carrying. Free from the loop of guilt and shame you've been trapped in. Free from the patterns that have kept you cycling through the same struggles year after year. This version of you wakes up differently. Not every morning is perfect. But most mornings there is a sense of groundedness. A connection to something real. A knowing that you are not navigating this alone. This version of you has relationships that are honest. Where you don't have to perform. Where you can say I'm struggling and not lose respect. Where love is not dependent on you being at your best. This version of you is doing the thing you've been afraid to start. It's not perfect yet, but it's real, and you are showing up for it. Every day, and little by little, it is becoming something that matters. Something that helps people. Something that honors what God put inside you. This version of you still has hard days. I won't pretend otherwise. The difficulties of life don't vanish when you surrender to God. But the weight of them changes. Because you're not carrying them alone anymore. Because you've learned to bring them to God in real time. Not just in crisis, but in the ordinary Monday of it all. That version of you is not a fantasy. It is not a distant dream. It is the natural result of the choices that begin today. It is who you are becoming. Right now, if you choose to receive this message, if you choose to respond to this invitation, and heaven is saying to you today, that version of you is worth fighting for. That version of you is worth the discomfort of change. That version of you is worth the vulnerability of surrender. That version of you is worth saying yes. Before I close this message, I need to say one more thing. One final word of warning. Wrapped entirely in love, do not leave this moment and return to business as usual. Do not let the emotion of these words fade into just another thing you watched or read. Do not let the recognition you felt today become another entry in a long list of moments when you almost changed. Because here is what happens when people receive a message like this and do nothing with it. The clarity fades, the conviction softens, the window narrows, and then the voice of delay returns. Not now, later, when things settle, and later never comes, and the window closes, and the season passes, and they spend years in the almost whole, almost free, almost walking in their purpose. Almost. God does not want an almost life for you. I do not want an almost life for you. Heaven crafted you for fullness, for completion, for the real thing, and the path there begins with a single step. Today, not a perfect step, not a fully informed step, not a step taken with total confidence. Just a step, in the direction of God, in the direction of honesty, in the direction of the thing you know you've been called to. One step, that's all heaven is asking for right now. One genuine step, and heaven will meet you there, with everything you need for the next one. If you are sensing that God is speaking to you through these words, if something in this message has stirred something real in you, stay connected to messages like this. Because this is not a one-time conversation. Heaven keeps speaking, and these messages will keep coming. Make sure you receive the next one. Because the journey you're beginning today has many chapters ahead, and each one will need its own word from heaven. Let me close by speaking peace over you now. Real peace. The kind that doesn't make sense given your circumstances. The kind that settles over you like warmth. The kind that says, everything is going to be okay. Not because everything is already okay, but because the one who holds all things holds you. Whatever you walked into this message carrying, I am asking you to set it down now. Not permanently abandon the situation, but release the weight of it. Give it to God, not in theory, literally, right now. Open your hands, in your mind, open them, and let it go. It doesn't disappear, but it moves. It moves from your shoulders to His. And He is strong enough. He has never once buckled under the weight of what His children bring Him. He will not start with yours. You are protected, right now. In this very moment, there is a covering over your life that the enemy cannot penetrate. There is a wall of divine fire around you. I am standing guard, as I always have been, as I always will be. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You will never be alone. The road ahead of you is not without challenge, but it is lit, and it leads somewhere beautiful. It leads to the version of you that God had in mind when He first breathed life into you. It leads to the life you were always supposed to be living. It leads home. Go now, with your head lifted, with your heart a little lighter than when you arrived, with the understanding that heaven is not distant. Heaven is close. Heaven is here, and God is not finished with your story. Not even close. He is just getting to the good part. And it is going to be more than you imagined, more than you asked for, more than you dared to believe was possible for someone like you. Because that is who God is. Exceeding, abundantly, above all. This is Michael, and I will see you in the next chapter. Go.